Hello and welcome to the YouTube channel for Craftworld Eldar.com. Tonight I'm talking with Brad Chester, who is without a doubt one of the world's best 40k players. He's won almost every major tournament in the US. He's been on Team America 9 times. Last year he was number 2 in the ITC, very nearly number 1, and he's a regular host and commentator on The Art of War, which is arguably the leading 40k strategy podcast. And Brad, is it true that you don't actually live in Finland, as is implied by the About Us map on the Art of War website?
Yeah, I forgot about that. I am actually in Toledo, Ohio.
You're in Toledo, Ohio. Okay, yeah, I saw your face on there and I thought, wow, I bet there is a really good 40k scene in Finland, but I wonder how he ended up there. I think he's American.
Yeah, indeed. I know a lot of Finns, but however, I definitely do not live there.
No, fair enough. Have you? So you're a commentator on the Art of War, and one of the things that sort of blows my mind about the Art of War as an institution is apparently there is this like Art of War house where 4 or 5 of the best 40k players in the world live together in some sort of communal bliss, and I think players in the wider 40k community who pay attention to the who's who of 40k tournament results, and know this, it's like a little bit like a cross between the cool kids table in middle school and like some 40k version of the X-Men mansion. I imagine like when a visitor shows up, Nick Nanavati is like bending spoons with his mind and everybody else is going 3 rounds in the danger room. Have you been there? Is this accurate? Is that what it's like?
I have been there, and this is fairly accurate. I feel it's more like the MTV old road, whatever they had, where everybody was all different and it was together in one house.
Yes, I know exactly what you mean.
So crazy. It is a really great place, though. It's crazy, though, because there's just no one else that has access to this many good players, though. If for playtesting, though, it's crazy.
Oh, it's incredible. Yeah. No, it's wild. It's like it's a dream. I mean, if it were the like secret hideout of the 90s X-Men, which X-Men would Nick Nanavati be?
Oh God. I should just tell him I should pick somebody terrible for him.
You should. Yeah, no, that's funny.
I'm definitely going to make him Jubilee now.
Nice. Good. Yeah. I remember she was not great in that arcade game. That was so awesome.
Oh, no. She was not. And Nick deserves that because he introduced a puppy into that house, and the puppy eats and destroys everything. And the one concession that everyone made before they let him bring the puppy in, that Nick was responsible to replace or pay for anything destroyed, and he effectively is going to be in the poorhouse because this dog is destroying anything that is left alone.
That's crazy. I've heard like horror stories about people's toddlers like coming into the room and they have like your Wraith Knight upside down and it's a hostage situation. But I feel like a puppy is worse. You can't reason with a puppy. You can bribe a toddler.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
no, that's super cool. It's in addition to the fact that you have like insider knowledge of the most famous players in the game, it's super exciting to have you on the channel because I know you're a Craftworld enthusiast. And although you like did leave us for Drakari in the 2021 ITC season, I know that you started off 2022 with a mixed Craftworlds Harlequin list that was like mostly Craftworlds, and that's really exciting for those of us who want to see Craftworlds excel in events.
I've played in Craftworld. I'm a very weird paradox of a player because I'm a bandwagon power gamer, but I'm a fluff bunny. I read all the books, all the things. That's how I got into the game. I actually was reading version 2, 2nd edition. I started reading all that stuff back then, and they drew me into the game. So I've been playing Craftworld in every edition since 2nd edition.
Wow.
So I play Eldar every single time.
What attracted you to Craftworlds to begin with? Is there some aspect of the fluff or the play style?
It's mainly it's a little bit of both, because I really like the fact, play style wise, I really enjoy the fact that you're in every single phase of the game. Your movement's super important. You've got movement, psychics, hand to hand. You've got long distance shooting. You've got a little bit of everything. And every list I think I've ever created, and I've played a lot of different versions of Eldar for 22 years now.
Yeah.
So I just love the fact that you're you're involved in every single aspect of the game, and it's hard to like leave that. Actually, to tell you the truth, when I come back and forth between armies, because a lot of armies are just more one-dimensional on that, and
Right.
it's just not as fun. And even where it's not in the greatest spot right now, it still feels fantastic coming back and being able to do a little bit of everything in every phase. It just makes it super fun. And I've always been a huge elf fan, fantasy-wise and everything. Especially if you haven't, go watch the Warhammer Plus episode that has the Eldar spirits here.
Oh, yeah.
The Warlock. Oh, that was so good.
Yeah, no, it is good. You know what? The other animation that I really like, I feel like there's something crass about liking this, but the intro sequence to the Dawn of War 2 video game with the Howling Banshees and the...
Yeah.
Did you ever see that? It was
Yep,
it was
I know
delightful.
exactly.
Yeah.
I just love the idea of the, everything about that. Also, raise your hand if you accidentally made a dark god. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
That's how you win arguments with Eldar. You're like, raise your hand if you didn't break the sky. It's like, sorry, guys. That's again our bad. But
No.
I just go ahead.
Please. No, keep going.
No, I'm geeking on fluff now because I'm just thinking about like all the I want so badly, and this is so out there. You got to watch out for me because if I see something shiny, I run at it. I'm like squirrel, but I was just thinking about the Exodite worlds and how much I want to have flying Eldar on dragons holding dark or bright lances and stuff. That would it doesn't even matter if they were terrible. I would still field that army if it was the worst army in the game.
So
just to have.
I remember like you, I remember Second Ed, and I remember opening up that Codex and reading the rules for like Dragon Knights and realizing that there were no models for them, and I was like 12, definitely not being in a place where I was going to figure out how to like turn Cold One Riders into Exodites somehow, but that whole concept is so cool, and I keep wondering if maybe, like, someday we're going to see those models. It would be awesome.
Well, they have all of that stuff. Like, I use a lot of it, and I'm a terrible modeler, but I have friends that are good modelers, and they use a lot of the Age of Sigmar stuff. They have fantastic big models.
It's gotten so much easier, and you see stuff on Instagram that's just freaking mind-blowing. I think you definitely can make an Exodite army now and have it be with all GW models. It's just, wow, what a project.
Oh, yeah.
So when you're playing Craft, could you give us some sense of how often you play Craftworlds? How big a part of your game are they currently?
Well, I'm crazy excited for all the new stuff because I also get to dip my toe a little bit because I'm on the playtesting team. So
of course you are. Of course you are. Yeah.
I saw a lot of the stuff early. We don't know the final product as much as everybody thinks we do. We just don't because they give us the look. We test it, we send it away, and we don't get to see it until after everything's been polished and whatever they decide whether or not they care about whatever your 2 cents you threw in kind of thing.
Right.
So I'm as excited to see the final product as everybody else, but I'm psyched up for a modeling and a hobby and tournament style because you're seeing all the leaks that are coming out. You're seeing the models that are coming out. I'm super excited to get Phoenix Lords that are competitive.
Right,
and,
me too.
Well, and then Aspect Warriors that are also competitive, but also have not that old style of just stationary.
Yes.
Looks. You're like, we're literally the most agile, fastest hunters in the galaxy. What's your pose? Kind of spread legs, hands up in the air. You're like, what? Like, what's going on here, man?
Yeah, it's about to be cuffed in a drug bust, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
The thing that I'm most excited about with the new Codex is just I feel confident that whatever the rules are, it's for the first time in a long time, it's going to feel like the fluff. I believe in them, man. I think that a lot of the 9th edition codexes have done a really good job of making the armies feel on the table like they do sort of aesthetically in the stories. And
I'm super excited to play specific craft worlds, not just make your own craft world, but actually I want to play after I watched the Warhammer Plus one, I just wanted to make an Iandan army. I played it before. I played Iandan before, but I also want to make maybe some Sam Hain. I just want to have armies that feel like the stories and the books and everything that you've read. You know what I mean? The games and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Where it just gives you that feel that what you put on there And the thing is that we again, I was saying before we went live, we're right now we're paying for the sins of the fathers past,
I
the
know.
Venari past,
Yeah.
and we're paying for the points, we're paying for other things, but like I think that the book's gonna make us, it's going to set us free. You just have options to do things. Because right now I feel that we're fairly dialed in what the best thing to play right now for Craftworld is.
Yeah, yeah, I think that there are definitely some good units, but it feels like a lot of the stuff in the book is not terribly viable, and it seems like reasonable to hope that maybe post-Codex there'll be so many options. It's also super cool to hear a top-table tournament gamer say that he wants to play armies that feel like the fluff and that you're excited about that. I think that's super cool. Sometimes it seems like there's a big gulf between narrative players and tournament players, and it sounds like maybe...
I think that there's less sometimes than people think. There's a lot of people that like I know that are top players that are like, I have no idea what you're talking about, Brad, but
Right.
like
Right.
there's fluff. Is that somewhere else? But yeah, no, I get super geeked about it. But that's how I got into the game.
Yeah.
I actually I've been playing forever, but I'm an old man, so I had my first open heart, and I was just going to the game store because I wasn't allowed to go anywhere else, and I just got dropped off. I couldn't drive. And everybody was playing this, and I was a role player, a card player, and everything. I did a lot of different stuff that I really liked the fluff, and I started reading those books, and then I'm like, hey, somebody show me how to do this.
No, super
Everybody
cool.
pulls me into 40K, so I've been playing 40K for 22 years now.
So now that you've been playing 40K for 22 years, in addition to like loving the game, you're also obscenely good at it. How do you think about list construction when you're getting ready for competitive play? Do you have any guidelines that might be useful for new players in addition to veterans?
100% on this, and this is a big thing that I talk about a lot, is you're not, especially when you're looking at Eldar, you're not looking to line up and kill your opponent. You get no stickers for just killing people. You have to win. You have to score points.
Yeah.
And Eldar still score points because you're fast. You can do things. You have extra ways to move. You have psychics that move. You can deep strike. You can outflank. And the thing is that you're fast enough to be where they're not. Just go somewhere else. Play like an Eldar. Use your battle cry of not in the face and run away.
Yeah.
So, but it's so important when you start to dial in your army is before you do anything, how are you going to win? Look through the secondaries. Look through the missions themselves. You've got 1 through 11 through 33, I guess it is. But just look through each mission and go, how would I do that? Because the problem is that you get lured in, especially now that you have Are we the oldest codex in the book right now?
I think we're the second oldest right now. I might have it wrong.
It's either the first oldest or second oldest, and you've just got the thing you're always going to do when you have the oldest codex. You have a little bit of rust on your units and stuff. When you can't just go toe to toe and just meet in the middle and just try to fight over that. You have to actually use what your strengths are, and your strengths are you're very fast, you have tricks, you also have good psychics, and put together what would I take for these secondaries, what am I going to take for these primaries, and then start looking at the units that fit into that and go from there. Just basically, if I'm taking engage, what am I taking engage with? Okay, what would I start doing retrieve Octarius data with? What unit could do that? And then I start putting in units. So Hawks, amazing unit. They can basically do rods themselves.
Right.
So because they can pop back into the air with Scup Leap. So you have to have units that aren't just there to punch back and forth. So one of the biggest thing, and I, in a very long-winded way, is just make sure you have units that can actually win you the game, not just kill your opponent's models.
Right. Yeah, I think a lot of players, especially coming back to the game after several editions off, really struggle with the notion that you're no longer playing your opponent's army, you're playing the game. And I think that can be it might even be harder for somebody coming back to the game than for the first time.
Because it used to be mainly killing. It was mainly...
Yeah.
For sure.
It's a whole different game. I had several editions off, and that was super jarring for me. The thing you said about Hawks is when we get to your Glass City list, we'll maybe talk more about Hawks. But I noticed you have 2 units of Hawks in there. You mentioned Hawks can do Octarius on their own. Just out of curiosity, for 10 more points, you can get the warp spiders with Web of Deceit that don't have to go up and come down. They can just bamf bamf same turn. What's the reason to choose the hawks other than the 10-point difference?
It was literally just points at that point in time.
Interesting. Okay.
If I would do it again, I have a list that I was very, very close to for LVO.
Yeah.
And I had a unit of spiders and 1 unit of hawks. I like the hawks' ability to go back is a big deal for me too, because a lot of times no one wants to go back in the back corner to get something. You know what I mean? Or I can start them on the board, then I bounce them back, and then I can bring them when I want to.
Right.
So having that option will always probably have me with at least 1 unit of hawks. But the fact is, spiders are still fantastic. That move is just crazy. You can get
so good
anywhere you want, and having an actual save is pretty nice too. You know what I mean? So in the -1, if you want to built in, you're not burning any CP to do that. And I look for units like that all the time in your craft world. That's another thing I would say when I'm building armies. I look for anything that has built-in deep strikes, built-in outflanks, where you're not paying your command points to put them in reserves or put them in reinforcements and stuff like that. Because I want options. I always want just options. I want to have a toolbox of things that I can do that hopefully don't cost me anything.
Yeah, it makes sense. And I think that maybe Craftworlds has more of that stuff just in terms of the CP-free deep strikers than anybody currently. Is that true? I think it might be. With the Hawks, Rangers, Walker. I mean, if you just in terms of the number of units that can do it. Do you think that's something we're still going to be able to lean into? I know you can't. I don't want to get you in trouble. You obviously can't say things about the new Codex, but
I have a big NDA that I signed.
Yes. Okay. I won't ask.
I will give you my opinion on anything that you've seen that has been leaked, and a lot of stuff has been leaked.
I know. I'm trying not to talk leaks on the channel, but I know I'm excited about all of it too. Okay. One leak though that we can talk about, because they apparently have said it's okay, is the chapter approved 2022 missions. They removed the embargo, and somebody from Art of War actually dropped them on the Sisters podcast today, and I saw them like 30 minutes before we got on together. And it looks like in addition to the new secondaries that had already been leaked, CP regen is now going to depend on a player's ability to control objectives outside of her own deployment zone. Is this consistent with
that? Is one of the missions, some of the missions on it. Some of the missions actually do that. It's not completely, won't be completely on that.
It's not all the missions.
It's not all the missions.
Okay.
It's some of the missions.
Okay. Is there anything about Chapter Approved 2022 that you think is going to have a massive effect on how Craftworld's players play the game?
The new missions will have the biggest impact on the game, because everyone's impacted by that. Points and things of that nature impact armies, in a specific way, but missions affect everybody. And the new secondaries, where we've seen the differences of engage having to teeth at least 3 models, a vehicle or a monster. Rods is going to have to be, rolling a d6, rolling underneath the number of guys you have, +1 for troops. You're going to have different constructions to be able to get those secondaries, and that's going to make everybody's list slightly different, because you're not going to see 2-man Crusaders, a Lictor, doing things like that. So a lot of lists are going to be different, and it's going to make it so a lot of these, because of the fact that they're getting rid of mission secondaries and making them part of the primary, means that you're going to have more things that can do fast moving stuff. Some of them are just straight up just kill a unit to get a point to get for that 3 points.
Right.
Because for everybody that hasn't seen it, all of the missions are going to 4-4-4. So take 1 for 4, 2 for 8, more than your opponent for 12. And then, of course, a couple of them are, hold 2 for these. Excuse me, hold 2 and such and whatnot.
Right.
So, but they all have a built-in per turn. Basically, their secondary became a primary, and you can get up to 3 points for whatever that action is that they want you to do. So I think that Eldar is going to be set up for that, but you're going to need some warp spiders and stuff like that for a lot of those things. But I like it because it gives you basically pros, cons. You have cost benefit you have to make, because if I go out and do that, do I lose a unit doing that? You know what I mean? So
Right.
it gives you options of, well, do I need these 3 points this turn, or do I want this unit to be alive for later in the game, kind of thing? And I think that's kind of exciting. I like anything that makes the game more engaging, because I really don't like games where, and you could do this a while when Marines could have done it for a while, where you double down on their secondaries and stuff like that.
Right.
And you can just kind of sit on missions like retrieval or overrun and stuff, where they just kind of sat. Like Dark Angels were notorious for that, where they just kind of did nothing and went, I'm going to score 90 points unless you have to do something about it. So I don't like any time where any army could just do nothing and score points. I want the game to constantly be an ebb and flow between the two of us, a back and forth situation. And I think they're doing a better job of that now.
Yeah, no, it sounds super encouraging, and I like the simplicity of having greater parity between the secondaries. I think it's just going to make the game a lot cleaner. I feel like Ninth Ed, it's my favorite edition so far, and I feel like it just kind of keeps getting better as they refine it.
They're doing a much better job. I'm super excited for the new books on this, because I feel that we got into a dark day of 40K for just a second there.
Yeah.
With just the top tournament play, which was the fact that a couple months ago there was 3 armies, not even just factions, that you could play to be at the top. And then we had some of the balances and a couple of the changes, the plane balances and stuff like that. And now going into LVO, I mean, if you're looking at it, there's so many factions that are, you have no idea whether they're going to win or not. And I love the game being like that. And just everybody has a chance, no matter what you're playing, as long as you play well and you have a well-balanced army that you can actually win. And I think that plays super well for Craftworld, because of the fact that you're usually, or at least myself, every time I've made a Craftworld army, I try to make armies that can do they have a chance versus everything, as opposed to just being super great against some things.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, having a tool for everything is super cool, and definitely, I mean, that's the whole concept of Aspect Warriors, right? It's that flexibility, and it sounds like after the Codex we'll be able to use them that way again, and that's really, really exciting.
I'm so psyched to do that. I can't tell you how much I want to use Howling Banshees.
I know, me too, man. Those are my favorites. Yeah, the notion that you could potentially play like a high pressure melee game where first turn it's your Scorpions and then it's your Banshees and then maybe you have the Avatar coming in with some, that just sort of like, I'm always giving you something you have to deal with, which is not a thing you can do with Eldar right now. It looks like there's going to be so much more flexibility with the army.
And I'm super psyched to do that, because I want to, you want to be, and again, it's more of a fluff thing, because you play like that. You know what I mean? If you read a novel of an Eldar do, bam, they're just in and out. They're giving you all these threats. They're so fast, and they're basically everywhere, coming in at all sides at any time. And I'm super juiced to just be playing that. I want to be playing that style, as opposed. Here, I'm going to give you a Brad rant real quick.
Okay.
Because my least favorite, it bothers the crap out of me right now in the game, that you have an aspect, Dire Avengers. They literally spend their lives focused on shuriken weapons, and they're terrible. They're so bad. Like, they literally, some random guy that got picked up off a hive world, and Sergeant Billy showed him how to shoot yesterday. How the hell is he better than a Dire Avenger?
Oh, man. It was, I think for me, it's true. You're totally right. For me, it was the tragic melee ineptitude of the striking Scorpions in 8th edition that really just,
that bothers me so much. Karandras might be my favorite Phoenix Lord for, baby, it's a touch. If you're going for pure fluff and awesomeness, I don't know whether it's Magan Ra basically surfing out of the Eye of Terror with the Altansar Craftworld, or the fact that Karandras is just wrecking people everywhere.
It's all the Phoenix Lord fluff is super cool. I like the Gav Thorpe novels too. I hope he does. I hope he does some more of them. I think, and having new models for those also is just going to be fantastic. I think they're some of the oldest character sculpts in the game, right? I mean, some of them are embarrassing.
I'm so juiced. Yes, they are terrible. We were getting new sculpts for them, And we're getting new rules for it. They already talked about this. Is something that I can talk about because they talked about it on their Twitch a couple times. And one of the things that they said they were doing in the new book is making the Phoenix Lords on par with other big characters in the game right now.
Yeah.
So, to represent that fluff, giving them better save, better rules, better everything, and I just want to have them on the board and just have them make a really big impact as opposed to being that cool conversion that you did and you just decided to put it on the board just because.
Right. Yeah, it's a super exciting time to be an Eldar player, I think, just because we're about to see. I mean, this has been a long time coming, and it's I said on my channel that I think when the new Codex drops, I'm gonna pop a bottle of champagne on video. It's just so cool. I also, you were saying before that we got into this place in this edition that was like a dark moment where there were only a handful of armies that were getting to top tables, and I think the people who must be most frustrated with this, I feel bad for the people who write rules at Games Workshop, because they clearly designed all the codexes simultaneously to be balanced against one another, and then so you create this really cool, well-balanced edition, but then when you're drip feeding the rules for each army, it creates these imbalances that aren't necessary, right? And I sort of wonder if we'll ever see an edition of 40K, like with the indexes at the beginning of 8th, but more complete, where that isn't the model. I think that would be a really exciting move.
It's hard on that. I wish that we. My thing is that I wish we gave the main factions their books first, and then you started doing the outlier books to help everything as you go. Like, if you would have just said, we're in 9th edition, and here is Marines, Chaos, Necrons, Orcs, Craftworld, and then you did all of the faction-specific things, the sub-faction specific as you went, and then campaign books, everybody is playing with at least most of their toys, instead of somebody having their core and 10 books. So of course they're good. You haven't so many options with it, and you wouldn't have us being, Craftworld's sitting on a 4-year-old book, and like things of that nature. Actually, it's more now. Jesus,
it's fine.
I was just about to say, we have it here, but it's. And then we'd have more. I feel that if we gave, you kind of got a base and then just added to that, because we add to stuff all the time with the, with the campaign books, with specific books. We had the Strife book. You have specific Legion books and stuff like that, where chapter books that add to Marines, that add to Chaos, that add to everybody else, and everybody would have been a little happier because you have factions that are out in the cold right now. I mean, the Chaos players aren't very happy right now either.
Yeah, it's true.
And so, and the thing is that if we got our base books and then added to that, almost like an index type thing, I feel that we'd all, be a lot happier for longer. Obviously there's going to be highs and lows. They're always going to put out something that's a little bit better than the last thing to make you buy models. They are a for-profit company, so it's always going to be get the new shiny thing that's going to work. But if we just had more, it's hard to maintain parity. You're 100% right on that, because eventually everybody's going to be pretty equal, but it takes time, because you put out a couple books and all of a sudden everybody that doesn't have a book is going to be behind the curve.
It would be cool if we could do, as you say, pretty much books for all the major factions, and then supplements give you new ways to play, not necessarily better ways to play. I think that there's an economic model there that probably would work well for them. People always want new ways to play their stuff. I'd buy all the books for my sub-faction books.
I'd love it if they had the Army of Renown stuff. I really like what they did with the Orcs and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Or there's been multiple Army of Renowns that are fantastic, and they have the highs and lows too, because I do like how they're doing the Army of Renown, where they give them restrictions to play them. They give you bonuses, but you also have restrictions. I love that. You know what I mean? And you could basically give people reasons to want to. Hey, I'm going to play Iandin. Okay, well, you can only play Wraith constructs and this and that, and you have access to these things, but not these things. I want to play Sam Hain. You can bring every bike type you can, but there's nobody that's a footslogger kind of thing. And you could build your army in a really cool fluff way, and you get some bonuses, but then you obviously have the negatives of not being able to take certain things. I love that aspect because it makes you. I like building lists, period. That's one of my favorite things. So it's just anytime you give me a problem on that, I love to figure out the hows of what can I put in and take out, and just make it the best thing that it could be with that.
Right. Yeah. No. I would love to just talk about how I would love for the game to be slightly different. I don't want to be super salty because I love Games Workshop. I love 40K. I think that Craft Worlds are way better even now than a lot of people think they are, and obviously you think that too because you've been running them in GTs and in mixed lists, and it's not all.
Everybody forgot about this. Everybody was giving me crap on that, and I had such a good time when we were all going to the finals in Dallas.
Yeah.
For the winners of the GW events.
Right.
And there was too many of us playing Dark Eldar, and I said nobody wants to see the all Dark Eldar, especially with the thick city lists are kind of boring in and of itself, especially to watch. And I was playing Exhibition Eldar, and I just didn't get a chance to change the Exhibition Eldar to be even more what I wanted. But I had such a great time playing it, and the thing is that people forget that while they have certain things that are bad at, you know what I mean? We have bad troops, and we have some point problems for sure, but we still have some of the best psychics in the game.
Right.
And we've got great shooting.
Crazy indirect fire. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, that's the biggest thing I was looking at is just the indirect fire with the combination of that. Also, you take, and I'm still angry about this. Why doesn't Warlock Conclave work if you put them on a bike?
Yeah. That's stupid.
I'll let it go, but that just bothers me so much.
That feels like a typo.
Yep, but like things like that, and extending the range and basically getting outside of denies, putting Jinx on somebody, putting Doom on somebody, all of a sudden you start shooting with nonsense units with just random catapults and stuff like that. A unit of Shining Spears comes in and puts 20 shots down, and then you go, okay, well, now I'm rerolling all my wounds, so all of a sudden you start getting all those AP3s, and just the combination, the synergies with Craftworld are such a big deal, because the data sheets by themselves are like, but then you start putting that together with the indirect, with just the volume of shots, taking that save down, and everything working together. Really, really makes a huge difference, and I think it's very competitive still.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Again, way better than people think. Let's dive into your Glass City list, which is mostly Craft Worlds, some Harlequins. I think you did well with it. You came in 5 overall. Is that accurate?
I lost one game that was completely my fault. I played Justin Curtis's Thousand Suns, and if we've literally talked about the game afterwards. I win that game 9 out of 10 times.
Right.
I made an error. I drank too much wine the first game and didn't realize basically where some of things were, and just made some mistakes and just went, okay, all right, this is an error, but let's talk about it, because it was testing for LVO, so we basically talked through what could have happened, what could have, should have, kind of thing, and I lost that game by 3 points, 5 points, some amount of small points. Basically, I was going to get inched out.
Right.
But I think that it has play. I actually like the Dark Eldar version a little bit better. The Dark Eldar Craftworld, pretty much the same Craftworld each time. It's just what I want to punch.
You talked about the Dark Eldar version on Art of War a few weeks ago, right?
Yeah, I basically want double Incubi with Drazar and a Succubus and 3 units of Hellions and 3 units of Rax, and then all of that Craftworld stuff.
Right. Now, for listeners who are not familiar with the list, can you walk us through the Craftworld portion of these lists that you're running?
I changed it a little bit just to get more, because the Dark Reapers, I was running basically Noah's Ark. I was running 2 of everything. A unit of 4 Dark Reapers with the Reaper Exarch having the Tempest Launcher and having rapid shots, so he has that +1 shot.
Yep.
I was running 2 of those, 2 Night Spinners, a 2 single Shadow Weavers.
Yep.
And then I was running Warwalkers, 2 Shining Spear, or sorry, not 2 Shining Spears.
Bright Lances.
Yeah, 2 Bright Lances, and then the Hawks, which I just love.
Yep.
I love Hawks and Spiders equally. They're equal on my shelf. So.
Nice.
And then the real everything, the glue that held everything together for Craftworld is the Farseer on bike with Doom and either Guide or Executioner, whether I'm trying to be a little more aggressive or not.
Yep.
And then I really like Warlock, either 2 single Warlocks or a Warlock Conclave to give me access to that doubling the range.
Oh, long bomb Jinx. Yeah. That seems to be a signature element of your Craft Worlds list. And I did a video on Warlock Conclaves a while ago, and I was focusing on big bully conclaves, and I totally didn't talk about long bomb Jinx, and I regret it. Can you talk to us? It's very straightforward, but can you talk to us about how it works? It's an amazing tool.
It's awesome too, because you have to cast the power. Once you cast the power successfully, after you get it off, then you actually decide whether or not you want to spend 1 CP, because you don't actually have to choose a target at that. You cast it and then you target.
Right.
So then you can cast a CP and it doubles the range. So you're casting an 18-inch power that now goes up to 36 inches, which now that gets you past that 24-inch deny range.
So good. Yeah. The notion that it can't be denied, and then you can jinx the thing that your indirect fire units can't see. If they have masterful shots, they're ignoring cover anyway. Suddenly, the no AP on the Night Spinners isn't it's just a killer combo.
And you get so much value. I was running expert crafters with masterful shots, so no benefits from cover, and then 1 reroll to hit, 1 reroll to wound, and I'm running all these small units, so they get so much value from having those 2 rerolls.
Right.
That you don't even need most of the time anybody giving them rerolls from the Autarch and stuff like that, just because of the fact that you're getting so much value from that limited amount. Right. And I actually switched it over to 3 units of Dark Reapers, and I didn't the walkers, I loved them and hated them at sometimes, but the Reapers did so much work with Fire and Fade and just picking targets. And the thing is there's so many units right now with people running big rack units, people running big gaunt units. There's so many things that you get those max shots, and getting 13 shots from a Reaper Exarch just feels amazing.
Oh yeah, and you've actually, I noticed you're running the Tempest launcher with Rapid Shot, and the first use of Rapid Shot was the people who were running the Exarch with the regular launcher, and it's a harder hit. And I think a lot of us initially, when we saw the Psychic Awakening rules, we chose the Exarch power that gives the reroll to the Tempest launcher for the number of shots. But somewhere along the line, you worked out that Rapid Shot is actually better math.
Because I was going, it's what's funny, because statistically it's better math to do the reroll. However, I'm targeting bigger units most of the time, and getting that extra shot over the games actually works out mathematically better if you're targeting half or more times where you're getting those max shots. It just works out so much better just to get that +1.
Yeah. Yeah, it's super cool, and that's a thing I've only come to very recently. Is the Rapid Shot on the Tempest launcher. Now, at least in the Glass City list, so you have all this really powerful Craftworld's indirect fire. You've got the Long Bomb Jinx, which is a crazy synergy. You have the Hawks there to help you score secondaries, and then it sounds like you swapped out. You had some anti-hard target with the Warwalkers, and you swapped those out. But you were also carrying 3 Harlequin transports filled with players with fusion pistols and the Embrace, and then you've got the Solitaire with Kegrax Rose and the Fangmaster, and I assume that's to bully the midfield, to protect your indirect fire units, and to put some pressure on your opponent when you need to.
I loved everything about the Harlequin characters and the shenanigans you can do, from being able to bounce back into a transport, to just spending 2 CP after you attack, to completely leave with your full movement, using things like the Blitz from the Solitaire, hitting something and then going 20 inches back. I loved everything about the characters. I loved the transport. I hated everything about the players.
Interesting. Why?
Too expensive. I put fusions on them, and the thing is that they don't have consistency.
I have bad luck with fusion pistol Harlequins. I'd like to hear more about that, so I just feel better about myself.
The thing is that you run up and you shoot something. You don't have any rerolls. You're going to hit 3 maybe 4 times, and then you're going to wound depending on what you hit. You know what I mean? You're probably going to miss one of those, possibly two, depending if you're doing a hard target. And then, it's old school Melta, so it's just 2d6. If you're only, that's if you're within 3 inches.
Right.
2d6 take the highest. You know what I mean? So most of the times you're just rolling a d6 and hoping for the best.
Right.
And it's expensive. You know what I mean? And there's still T3 models. The thing is that a lot of times when you're looking at a lot of your any of the Eldari type troops, or not even troops, just units as a whole, you're looking at a 1 wound T3 model. You know what I mean? So having to extend that out just felt meh. I love them actually in hand-to-hand. I did almost no damage with fusion pistols the entire weekend, and I did a ton of work with the Fang Master and a unit just getting out doing the full rerolls on the wounds. You know what I mean? Just get that volume into people. It just felt fantastic. I love them when they were punching stuff. I hated them when they were shooting stuff.
So Soaring Spite is currently super in fashion. Do you think there's an argument to be made for going Frozen Stars instead and leaving the fusion pistols at home if you're running them with Craftworlds?
That was I ran that earlier in the year. This year, actually, I ran Craftworld Frozen Stars, no transports.
And, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I ran more of a just guys on foot, and I loved having the extra attack, so for sure I loved it. And the thing is, a lot of times you're looking for that counter anyways, so I really didn't need to get up with the transports and stuff like that. The transports give you obviously more ability to deliver and have more board presence on that, so it depends on what you're trying to do with it. But I like Frozen Stars are amazing. They also have that fantastic strat also,
Yeah.
So
no, they're great, and I do like that melee Harlequin style. I've got one big question about this list, and I can't, for the most part, I see why this is amazing, but I don't quite see how you're playing the primary objective game with this.
It's shenanigans. I shoot people off one. I play my backfield objectives, and I'm playing an engage. I'm playing an engage or a strangle. I'm playing engage. I'm playing always rods. And the thing is I'm basically focusing down one of the midfield objectives and trying to take it.
Right.
And then I'm taking my backfield, and I'm effectively screening out, so you have to come through me to get there. And I'm willing to leave at any moment in time and just go away. But that is one of the things, is that I had such a hard time that we're doing right now, because I always have to play perfectly because I don't have properly pointed data sheets, basically,
right.
And the power. So having the new book makes me excited for all of that, because right now it feels that when I'm playing, I have to play on hard mode. You know what I mean? Which, that's just true. I don't want to, be gloom and doom about it, but it feels like you have no room for any mistakes, because I have to perfectly position, and my spacing has to be on point with everything. And you want your pace, all of that to be when you're doing your turns anyways, but man, you get very punished right now in Craftworld if you make any spacing or screening errors at all. The game can just flip very, very quickly. So I'm literally looking to really focus fire. I hard flank almost all the time with my Craftworld right now. Right. So you're just looking to get into an unfair fight. So
sure. People
spread out too much as a whole, and I just take tons of my firepower. And the thing is that you can do that. You can hard flank. I'm doing gestures with my hands, even though no one can see me.
Yeah.
But you can do that, and you still have your back objectives with your indirect. So you can take the rest of your forces and focus and have to move there, but your indirect can still stay in your backfield, taking those backfield objectives, but concentrating all your firepower on that objective, that flank that you need to clear out. And it is a hard thing on that, because you end up having to play on your back foot a little bit right now, because you just don't have the units that are really, really good at holding the middle, which is why I was saying the Dark Eldar version has more stuff. It had more ability to just sit and take things. With the Rax, with the Incubi, with the Hellions, I could keep sending things out, taking objectives, having a little bit more primary game than the Harlequins did.
So that's still a primary Craftworlds list, right? It's similar. You've got a Craftworlds shooting list, and then you've got your Drakkari are playing the primaries.
Yep. It's a little bit over. All of the lists run a little bit more than 1,000 points. of Craftworld.
Right.
So they're all they were technically all Craftworld lists because they're running more than half Craftworld. I still think that right now, I mean, as much as we're talking about, I'm excited to run pure Craftworld. I mean, I'm unbelievably excited to run Craftworld.
Yeah, me too.
It's the shooting version of Craftworld as a base, especially into what's in the meta right now, is fantastic.
Yeah.
There's just lots of reasons to put that in there. And moving into LVO, I was really testing heavily the Dark Eldar Craftworld combination for it, because that you could get that punch, because we're lacking a little bit in the punch, or it's overcosted in your punch for hand-to-hand in Craftworld, and just using the great psychics, the great indirect shooting, and the direct shooting. I mean, Reapers are still amazing. They ignore anything, so you don't have to worry about. I'm gonna roll a 3. I don't care what you try to make me do. I'm still hitting you. Fire and Fade's still nuts. You know what I mean? You can play very cagey. You know, the whole thing is man, getting those angles. I see people making mistakes all the time, and it's deadly if you're doing it with your Eldar. Pop out and barely see anything. You know, it's better to kill one target and get absolutely no return fire than be greedy and kill 2 or 3 things, and then the rest of your opponent's army can see you and just go back at you. Because again, in the end, you're still a T3 model with 1 wound. You know what I mean? You're still going to get picked up. So, you know, kill that one thing. Be super cagey. Constantly be barely poking out, and kill whatever it is that you can see, and make sure that you're just not getting back. I mean, pre-measuring is such a huge thing for Eldar right now, because you have such good speed and you can get angles. Just see where they can be and don't be there.
See where they can be and don't be there. I love it. Yeah. See, I mean, so I imagine some of the people listening to this right now, there are a lot of, it's a mix of veteran players and some very new players. For people who are just trying to get to grips with competitive Craftworld play, can you give like 3 highly concrete pieces of advice for how those people can start succeeding with Space Elves on the table? I think even after we get the new Codex, right, I think Eldar are going to get a big shot in the arm, but they're still going to be tricky to play. It's a high skill cap army that...
It's fragile.
It's fragile, and it's not, you know, it's hard if you're new to 40K. It's a tricky army. It rewards skillful play and it punishes mistakes. Can you give a couple of concrete pieces of advice that, you know, next week at the game store, listeners can use?
Make sure your army has units that can win the game for you. When I say win the game, I don't mean kill things again. It's so important to have. If you're making your Eldar list and you have to see the value of hawks, spiders, things like that score you points. Those have to be those things have to be in your list. And just not army. Excuse me, as I'm dying here. Deploy to win. You can deploy and lose. You can't just deploy and straight win. Deployment. Before you move a model or put a model on the table, ask yourself, every time I have a unit, every time I'm going to move anything, I go, how is this unit moving or shooting going to either score me points or deny my opponent points? And that's what you should be doing on the table. I never willy-nilly put anything anywhere. And if you can just ask that question every time you move or deploy a unit, you will literally be on your way to winning way more games. Because I see people moving things and deploying things, and they don't have a rhyme or reason for why they're doing it. They know they're kind of hiding here, but like, why are you there? What are you going to be doing? It's such a big deal.
Yeah, I think deployment is probably the most essential, most difficult, basic part of the game to grasp when you're making that transition to more competitive play. And it is with Eldar, it's tricky because you're trying to keep track of all of these psychic synergies and CP synergies, but also, you know, access to targets, but also the threat that your opponent poses, where they can be, and it's a lot. But we've also got Phantasm, and you know, what does that mean? Like that's this whole head game now. So,
the thing you can do that. The thing is that sometimes you want that Phantasm to just be that. The threat of something, especially in high level play, the threat of something is actually way better than the something is most of the time.
9 times out of 10, you don't need to use it. It's just
right.
Yeah.
And then going into your third kind of thing, don't be afraid to do nothing.
Okay, cool.
It's real though, because if I'm playing, I was actually helping with 2 of my friends after we were at Studs and Stoutling which I won. Yay!
Oh, well done.
We're after the game. I had them playing, and Black Templars had just came out. They're playing Sisters versus Black Templar, and they're playing sweep. So taking the middle and everything.
Right.
And my one guy playing Black Templars wanted to push up. He wanted to, I'm going to do this, this, and this. I'm like, you're not going to do any of that. He's like, what do you mean? I go, he took engage, you have Stranglehold. He's basically gone 2 turns, getting 2 points. You have second turn. You're basically scheduled to win the game by 7 points. Know
right.
what where the game state is. Where are you planning on winning? Like, what is the score right now? And if you don't have to do anything, don't risk anything. Don't even bring dice involved. I try to take dice away as much as humanly possible.
Interesting.
And the thing is that having more tools later on in the game, why take a chance? Why extend out? Why quicken those spears and make him go do something when I'm not going to get any points for that? My opponent is now down 2 points. My opponent's now 1 point. I'm right now in the game state scheduled to win this game by 2 points. Don't do anything. Make your opponent come to you. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden you can use all of your resources versus some of his resources.
Right.
And it's such a big deal to take away as much variance as you can from the game. I call it being passive aggressive. Basically, you're getting ready to move to somewhere, but you don't need to do that until you have to move there. Because I'm totally okay with basically maneuvering around my opponent and doing nothing and just making that no dice rolls, because I'd rather take the variance out of there. The least amount of times I have to rely on dice is beautiful.
Yeah, no, that's great. That is a really cool piece of advice, and I think there is this sense, you're playing the game, you feel like it's like sometimes I get emails from readers who don't want to put anything in Deep Strike because they feel like they need all the models on the table at the beginning of the game, or they're going to lose the, I don't know, Napoleonic rate of fire contest that maybe the game was back in second ed or something. But that notion that sometimes the best thing to do is nothing is
it's hard.
Yeah,
it's literally hard, especially if you're you're used to playing an aggressive style, or you have even with aggressive armies, you're playing a very speedy hand-to-hand type army. You still want to wait, until you get the most bang for your buck. There's no reason to just put yourself into harm's way. And the thing is that if I don't need to roll dice, I don't want to roll dice. There's no reason until you make me say that I have to do this. If I'm just going to win by taking the board and take my secondaries, take my primaries, that's how I'm winning anyways.
Right.
I don't get a gold star for how many people I killed. So yeah. I want to win the game in the end.
Thanks, Brad. That's totally awesome. I think that definitely gives not only new players. I asked about new players. I mean, I think that gives veteran players something to think about next week at the game store too, and that's fabulous. Now, before we actually started recording this, you broke the tragic news to me that you are actually not bringing Space Elves to LVO, as was the plan, for a variety of personal reasons.
I broke down. I'll just say that. I've said that in the thing. I had some setbacks. I've got some bad health, and I knew that if I brought the pointy ears, I would have to play very, very I would have to play very, very perfect, and I have to play longer games. You know what I mean? You have to do things, and I wouldn't be able to do that with what I am physically. So I picked the dumbest army I could. I had 3 options: don't go to LVO, go to LVO, don't play, go to LVO, be willing to drop at a moment's notice and play an army that's going to have fast games with very little thought put into my games. And I put some Crusher Stampede out there. And the funny thing is there is not a opposite of Brad army more than Crusher Stampede. I am just known to bring tons and tons of garbage units and trades.
Yeah.
And that army is just total anti. It is the opposite. Is Bizarro World for me playing that. It's all in on a few things, and I hate taking things that cost more than 100 points. It makes me sweat a little bit, let alone having all of my eggs in one basket kind of thing. It is very different. It doesn't. It has at least plays in most of the phases, but I can't wait for the new book.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah,
I feel like I have multiple armies already set up. I think there's going to be multiple tournament-worthy armies. I mean, there's going to be a million armies that you could play in the basement. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I think that there's going to be 3 to 4 different armies that are going to be tournament-worthy, like tournament-winning worthy, that are going to come out of the Craftworld book. I feel very strongly about that. They're going to have a lot of internal balance amongst them, and just you're going to be playing Ian, and you're going to be playing Samhain, you're going to be playing your own, just every, like, different things. I almost completely ratted myself out with another army. Other armies that have things in them that you can have.
Oh, go on, please.
And I just think that there's going to be so many options, and I just love being at the buffet of Eldar right now, when that's going to be. So you just have and play. And the thing is that everyone listening, don't let anybody tell you what's good and what's not.
Yes. Yes.
Just play. Nobody knows what's good at first. Just throat punch all those people. If you want to know that, how are Wraithblades doing? How is this? Put them on the board. You know what I mean? If you like them, make them work. See if they work. Nobody's playing competitive games with these armies when they first come out. You know,
it's going to be a while before we.
Put it on the board. See if you like it. Just don't let somebody basically poo-poo on your fun before you get to even put it on the board. Make your own decision about units, whether or not they're good or not. Just I hate when someone's like, "This is awful." You're like, how many games have you got in? They came out today. The Codex. How about we figure it out? You know what I mean? Just if you got some amazingly painted unit X, play it. See if it works. 100%.
Yeah, it's true. It took people over a year to figure out Night Spinners were good, and they're like one of the best units. And
exactly.
So this is the thing. Well, I'm sad that you won't have the pointy ears, but I'm glad you're making the right decision for you. I'm very excited to see what you do with Eldari after the book drops, and you're in a different place and able to bring them to tournaments. Before we wrap it up completely, my Patreons who enjoyed early access to this video, they sent me a couple of questions they wanted me to work into the interview. There are two I haven't gotten to, so I'm gonna drop these two on you, and then we'll wrap it up. Somebody wanted to know if you have a pet Craftworlds unit, something that you don't like to play without, even if it's not the most optimal pick, just because you love it.
I love Shining Spears. I always have.
Oh, that has been a convenient pet unit recently, but yeah, no.
But the thing is, it meets all the requirements.
Yes,
it has shooting. It's got underrated shooting because the catapult's just a volume. I like anytime I get to roll a lot of dice, that just makes me happy. But it's got speed, it's got some durability, and it has a good hand-to-hand. It does a little bit of everything. It's got shooting, it's got speed, it's hand-to-hand. It's what I mean, and it's always. It feels like I can use it to do anything. It gives me that toolbox feel, and I can always get somewhere. You're like, hey, I moved 16. You know what I mean? Or I could possibly move 22 right now, and it's one of those things that I really always want on my list. I like a 5-man just cruising around, dropping 20 shots, zooming around the board, picking up, looking for that limping gazelle that I can fight.
Yeah, the limping gazelle. I like that. Okay. So here, my other one. Somebody wanted to know about your. Maybe this is a good one to leave us with. Your funniest or weirdest or most memorable 40K play experience, either of the last year or just ever. What have you got?
I can give you a Craftworld story specifically.
That's what I want.
I was playing in the semifinals. I was playing Nick Nadavani and I were playing, and we were playing in we were playing exactly the same list. We had made it literally 2 weeks before at Sean Naden's house. We had a Team USA playtest, and we came up with the list. We were playing the same. Sorry, as Nick will say, it wasn't the same list. I had 1 extra Reaper, and he had 1 extra Spear.
Yes.
There you go. So it was huge differences.
Yes.
So, but we're playing, and Nick had gone first, and just got in. He used Phantasm Up. He quickened a big unit of Guardians and just kind of wrapped I had a bunch of those back when you had tons of small, this is Yannari style, tons of small Reaper squads and things of that nature. And he just touched everything. And I'm fighting back the whole game. And this is before they had any clocks or anything, and they just did a kind of sorry, FLG, you're doing a bad job of letting me know how much time is left. But we'll get into that. So I'm fighting back. It's one of my favorite games ever played because it was just super boxed out but super clean as far as we were playing intent. What can you do? But whoever basically made the first mistake of spacing or anything was just a world of hurt with that double move from the Soul Burst. And we get to the end of the game, and finally I've come back. I've dug everything out, and I'm a couple points behind, but now it's my turn. I have the bottom. I explained my whole turn. He has barely anything left. I'm going to do this Soul Burst multi-charge where I'm going to hit 3 different characters and 2 different units. And I have to do the shooting over here to trigger it. And all of a sudden they walk up and go, you got a minute left. And I just go, okay, well, I just put my hand out and went, that whole plan, I can't do any of that in this 1 minute. So, I guess I lose, and I'm very sad right now because I was about to win, but I can't do all of those things I want to do. None of them are being done in a minute. So
that's
I was just
horrible.
so
that is the worst way to lose a tournament.
It was so crazy. I was like, really?
Okay. Wow. All right. Well, that makes me feel better about my worst 40K moments for sure. That is rough. Well, I hope, Brad, that you don't have a moment like that at LVO. I hope your Crusher Stampede goes all the way to the top table and we watch you gloriously destroy whoever your competition is. But even if we don't see that, I'm sure that you're going to have a fantastic tournament season because you always do. And I would love to have you back at some point after the book is out to share some more thoughts with us.
I'll be super excited to talk Craftworld as soon as it comes out because I'm planning on playing it for 2022.
Fantastic.
I'm going to play Craftworld. For basically, I want to play. It's the thing that I go to. I actually have a funny thing about that. I'll end with this, because I was getting things painted, and I'm just known for kind of showing up with whatever. So I was getting some stuff. I was talking about really upping my hobby game, getting some stuff really beautifully done, and I didn't know how I felt about it, and I was talking to Sean Naden, and he goes, "Brad, haven't you played Eldar for 22 years now?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Not exactly a big risk for you to put some money into Eldar." It's like, it's a pretty safe bet you're going to play those, right? I go, "You make an excellent point, my friend. I should probably not be super worried about putting money into the army that is older than most people that are playing right now."
That is fair.
So yeah. I'll end on that to where I'm getting some pretty stuff done, and I will be playing, and I'm forcing myself to be playing Craftworld. Not a big force, but into the near future. Just because I want to put some really pretty stuff, because there's so many good units coming out, man.
It's so exciting. You're describing the promised land, and I want to see it. And I will be so excited if you will come back a few months after the Codex has come out, talk about your play experiences and what's working for you. I'm excited to see what you run. I'm sure it'll be all on the Art of War. Thanks, man. This has been really fantastic. And thank you, listeners out there, for participating vicariously in the conversation. A special shout out to my Patreons who had early access to this video. If the rest of you would like to achieve early access to videos, you can follow a link in the video description. If you liked the video, please consider clicking a like. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. Also, Brad, should we plug your coaching service?
Indeed we should. The artofwar40k.com. Come see me. I do coaching. I've read almost every one of their clinics, so I'm always around. You can always see the old man Brad anytime you go to that. So show up in the war room. We're on YouTube, and pop in. I'd love to see you.
Cool. I'll link that in the video description too. Thanks, Brad. We'll look forward to seeing you in the future, and I'll look forward to talking to the rest of you in the near future. Take care, everyone.